Hello, in this video I'm going to demonstrate Sicon Expenses module, which is linked to Sage 200. We will be given the address to log into, as highlighted here, from an administrator, which can be entered into a standard browser, either Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. Once we've entered this address, either remotely from an external site or internally, we will be presented with this screen. You will have been given your login details and password, which will allow you to log into the system. I'm going to log in as an administrator and enter the administration password. Once I'm logged in as Calvin, on the left hand side we see we have several options. The first one is the home screen, expenses, where we can enter new expenses, existing expenses or reports. We have timesheets, where we enter the new timesheets, existing or reports, and a holiday module, which we'll cover in a later video. I'm going to go to expenses and enter a new expense. Once logged in, the first piece of information, the system will know where the entry is going to into the accounting system, who the user the expense is for, and the expense date. I'm going to enter an expense date for the 3rd of March. Once we've entered our expense date, we have two options available: add an expense or add a mileage expense. I'm going to add an expense. We then go through and enter the type, which is an expense, and we are then presented with a date once again. This allows us to enter several expenses for this particular week. The expense entry form is for the end of the week, but we can have several expenses during the week, hence the need for the 2 dates. So if I enter this date now as the 1st of March, tell the system that I have a receipt, enter a value, has a VAT attached to it. I can then allocate this to a project. Once in a project, we can enter the project code, snippet of information from the title or the description. I'm going to enter this to Park Lane, so if I start typing Park Lane, I can see that this comes up here. So without knowing the code, I can find the project. On the drop down, I'm going to enter the type of expense. If I enter subsistence, and then a brief description. If I save this expense, that is then posted. If I add a new item, this time, again, I select expense. I confirm I have a receipt. This time, on this instance, I want this to be a non-chargeable project. If I enter NC and E, you'll see the non-chargeable expense option comes available. If I select this, from the drop down, I then put stationery. I'm going to enter print cartridges. Once I've entered that information and saved that, I now have a second expense. So I save and close this. I propose to enter some mileage. If I select the mileage, in this screen it's already pre-populated with the pence per mile, the additional charge for a passenger, and the distance we have travelled this year for the purpose of year-end taxation. If I enter a new line, and here I have the date, so I'm going to enter the date of the travel. Let's say this was the 1st. We could enter the journey details, but we have a handy tool over here to enter and calculate the mileage. I select the mileage calculator and enter the office postcode address, and I enter the location of the site, Park Lane, confirm that it's a return address and calculate the distance. It will work out the mileage from the office to Park Lane. If I accept this, it will calculate the distance we travelled, work out the trip time and work out the mileage. We then allocate this to a project. I'd like to allocate this to Park Lane. And enter allocate it to travel. If I save this, that line, save and close, we've now entered the 3 lines. I'm now going to enter print expense voucher. This will present me with a voucher with all the details. You can then attach your expenses and submit them to the accounting department. If I close this, I can then save only. If I close this now, you can see that I have the expense claim submitted here in a status of new. This allows me to edit the claim and go back and add additional items. If I'm happy that this is completed for the week, I can select Save and Submit when I've finished, and it confirms that this has now been submitted. If I close the expense claim and click on the home screen, you can see the various items of the expense have been sent off for approval. 3 items have been sent for approval, and it confirms that it's been sent to Angela Ria for approval. This completes the entering of our expenses. All we now need to do is log off. Many thanks for watching this video.